Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 34, aka episode 9 of season 2 of Chihayafuru, and I have a lot of common things to talk about. So we need to just dive right into that before we get into this episode, but we've won our first match at Nationals against a very colorful cast of foreign-seeming competitors from Chiba International. Was it Chiba International House of Pancakes? But it was Chiba, I think it was Chiba Industrial Studies. Yeah, that high school. But anyway, we faced off against Chiba and we won. And the episode ended with Arata literally getting cornered by Shinobu. Like, the man did not consent to you having your hands all over him, Shinobu. So we're going to see where that leads us. And I'm really excited to see what all comes of that. But anyway, so Furunoda, for episode 6 of season 2, said they did start out with this saying, personally, I always thought the maneuver used by Hokuo in episode 6 was cheating, plain and simple. It's one thing to cheer each other on, but actively and blatantly discussing a strategy during a match just feels wrong. And Hokuo's coach seems to be in the same boat because he's shown sweating bullets during that scene. Am I a bit salty that our team lost because of this? Maybe. Yeah, I was kind of confused how them giving each other the signal worked, and I was like, but you know what? If it leads to Hokuo's team losing to Chihaya's team later on, and then Chihaya's team moving forward, I feel that's karma, so that's fine. Anyway, they said the poem of the day is To Set the Tatsuda River Ablaze. Poem 69 was written by Tachibana no Nagayasu, later known as Noin, after taking a tonsure as a monk. One of the 36 immortals, Noin was not restricted by the politics that underlay many of the Hakunin Ishu poets, as he did not belong to a politically prominent temple. As a result, he freely traveled and wrote poetry about his experiences. Mustow translates the poem as it's the autumn leaves of the hills of Mamuro, where the tempests blow, that are the woven brocade floating on the waters of Tatsuda River. According to Mustow, the poem is very straightforward, with little hidden wordplay. It simply describes autumn scenery. Mount Mamuro is in the Nara prefecture near the Tatsuda River. Through history, it was said that the gods would dwell at the mountain from time to time. Back then, traveling to places like Mount Mamuro was generally hard for people to do, even nobility, due to the cost and the amount of time it would take to travel there. Tatsuda River is also referenced in a certain poem that starts with Chihayafuru. That's why I kept thinking of it. I was like, yes, of course. The Tatsuda River has always been representative of Chihaya, especially with her tie to poem 17. The poem uses similar imagery to her poem 2, describing autumn leaves woven together as a brocade floating on the river. Reds and blues reminiscent of Chihaya and Arata, respectively. Interesting. It's interesting to read the history of Mount Mamuro, as Arata is a Karuta god for her, and her path to reaching him is long and arduous. Naturally, not many people can make it there, as shown by Amakasu's casual nature in this episode. I love that. I'm personally an Arata and Chihaya shipper, so the idea of her trying to make her way to play him again is so nice. I love it. But yeah, I like how that poem kind of weaves in, fun stuff. So then we have a couple comments about episode 7. S Anime says, if we paired Chitose with Taichi, they both would sort out their insecurities in the corner and find happiness together. It's a crack ship for the ages, but I wouldn't be able to support it as a Taichi Chihaya shipper. Plus, I'm sure that Taichi would just get another layer of trauma added with how much Chitose, personality-wise, is similar to his mom. And plus, that would be awkward. We have enough children on this channel taking on bad traits from their parents. Yeah, I'm going to be real with you with this next comment as well. I'm not a Taichi Chihaya shipper. I'm just not. I love Taichi as a character, but he is not ready to be shipped with Chihaya, in my humble opinion. Maybe he'll get there. Maybe he won't. We'll see. But I'm not a Chihaya and Taichi shipper right now. And I do agree that Chitose is way too much like his mom. Taichi doesn't need... I don't even want Taichi to go through that. No. Although the mangaka might, so... And then Alexandra Q says, as much as I think Taichi and Chihaya are very similar with both always getting too much into their heads in games, I think this episode highlights another of their differences. Aside from Taichi being a pessimist and Chihaya an optimist, the fact that Chihaya is very much a gambler at heart and willing to take risks, Taichi plays it safe until pushed otherwise, both in games and in his personal life. I mean, you mention it too, with how Taichi is just sort of waiting for Chihaya to fall into his lap suddenly in love with him, and he's not acting. He's not taking risks to help himself. Exactly. Yeah. I love Sumire saying that the rules of this love was to be serious about Karuta. I love she's essentially the same character, but her focus has changed slightly, and that makes all the difference. Because yes, joining something only because of a boy is a shallow move, but doing that thing seriously and as best as you can makes that move have more weight. And I love her for that. The dichotomy is fun to see. Look, Taichi joined Karuta for shallow reasons as well. One, because of Chihaya, and two, because he thought it was easy. So let's not forget that. But I think it's interesting because Sumire and Taichi are just mirrors of each other, right? They are working on themselves, and that, in my opinion, will take them past their crush. And here's my thing. I think Sumire will fall in love with Karuta, and then later on, she won't have a crush on Taichi anymore. She'll love Karuta for Karuta, and her and Taichi will probably become friends. That's my prediction. But here's my take. My take is Taichi is going to eventually kind of mirror Sumire, and Taichi is no longer, he may love Chihaya, but it's not just going to be a crush. I feel like Taichi, and he may already be past that and into the I'm in love with her stage, but I think Taichi will reach the point where he genuinely just loves Karuta and how it makes him feel and what it does for his character, and he won't be trying or will not feel jealous or angsty about Arata anymore. And when that happens, when Taichi can gain that self-actuality and self-love, then Chihaya may do one of three things. She may realize Taichi's feelings and may develop a crush of her own and share in that mutual feelings of romance towards him back. Two, she may not and go with Arata. Or three, she may not go with either of them. We'll just have to see, right? So I do agree, though. I was talking with the moderator, Be Happy, about this. Communication has to happen between the three of them, and we've been denied that throughout much of the series so far. So before we even think about who's winning, I hate that term, winning, this love triangle, we need to have them, talk to each other first, and then we can go somewhere. But yeah, so I'm ready for episode 34, episode 9 of this season. Thank you all so much for the comments. I really appreciate it. I appreciate talking with you all about this series. It's so much fun, but my dog, bless. But we're not going to waste any more time, so let's get into this. All right, I'm excited. So we are going to start episode 34, aka season 2, episode 9 of Chihayafuru, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, this episode was called Anxiety and Dread. Is what should have been. My only thought was anxiety and dread throughout the entirety of it, let me tell you. So, I am glad that Arata didn't immediately know Shinobu, because I was like, Shinobu thinks that Arata should remember her. It's a good reminder that Shinobu's kind of weird. She is kind of weird. All of the really good Karuta players are kind of weird. By contrast, Arata is the most normal good Karuta player out of all of them. He's the most normal, somewhat stable of them all. But who knows? If he gets DQ'd from the tournament tomorrow, then he may be on his own angst arc and his struggle train might begin. But he's been on enough of a struggle train off screen. So can we give the guy a break? I mean, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But yeah, Shinobu is kind of creepy in this opening scene where she comes up behind and grabs him and he's like, I don't know you. Why are you doing this? And then he recognizes that it's her. And I like these, are you Shinobu? He's like, I didn't recognize you because you look completely different. He's like, what are you doing to put on and lose weight so quickly? One, glad he asked that because that's such a glaring plot hole. I'm sorry, as someone that's struggled from an eating disorder and has like really good metabolism and still struggles, you don't just gain 22 pounds and lose 22 pounds in a healthy way within 2 months. Sorry, you don't. So I'm just like, I'll let it go. I'll let it slide, but it bugs me. So we're not going to talk about that. But I also appreciate the fact that Arata asks that question because he seems concerned. Like, are you healthy? Are you okay? Do we need to do I need to ask if you're fine? Because that seems unhealthy and like it's not a good thing. No. Anyway, everyone is just crying around Arata. Everyone is crying around him. Like Chihaya has cried around him. Taichi has cried around him. Shinobu has cried around him. Arata's just here being like, "Can I help you?" He's like everybody's emotional support person. He's like, "You don't have to cry, Shinobu-kun. Aren't you the invincible queen?" And she's just like, "Oh." What's interesting is that Arata views her as this invincible force. He's like, "Aren't you the queen? You're an amazing Karuta player." And she has this pride that she's like, Arata is one of the few people that's ever beaten her. And so she's like, you live to tell the tale and I want to face you. I love it. He's like, "Since you quit Karuta, you're never beating me again, you fool." And he's like, "Well, are you deaf?" She's like, "Every year on this day, I visit the shrine and then I go watch this boating activity that gets rained out on them." She's like, "You came all the way here and you're not going to watch the team tournament?" And then she's like, "That's for players who don't love Karuta." Now, that's an interesting thing on the surface because you would think, you're like, what are you talking about? Karuta is a team sport. It's, they say team matches are individual matches and individual matches are team matches. Those are Dr. Harada's words. I feel like to Shinobu, she feels like if you're playing in a team match, you're not devoting yourself to the art of Karuta. Now, is Shinobu right? Not necessarily. That's just her perspective. That's just what she believes. I feel like, it kind of goes back to when I watch Ace of the Diamond and we talk about pitchers. A lot of pitchers they're egoists. They're selfish. And if you look at Blue Lock in that series, that talks about ego and about being selfish and the benefits of that. They're like, you need to, I feel like in Karuta, if you're going to be good at Karuta, truly good, you do have to focus on yourself and improving your own game. And in Shinobu's eyes, being part of a team hinders that because then you're worried about other people. Then you're worried about those around you and you're not focusing on yourself. Taichi, if Taichi heard Shinobu's words, would he be swayed? Because Taichi, and surprisingly, I feel like on the surface, Taichi and Shinobu kind of share similar thoughts. Taichi has been trying for a lot of the series to get Chihaya to branch off and go focus on herself because that's how, in Taichi's mind, that's how Chihaya will get good enough to face Shinobu. But Chihaya is very different than Shinobu. Chihaya does not care about, the individual. For Chihaya, she would disagree with Shinobu and say, no, Karuta, if you love Karuta, you want to play it with other people. Like, yeah, you may not. I think that for Shinobu associates love with success. If you are wanting to be the best at Karuta, then sure, you might need to go solo with it to make yourself the strongest you can get. And for Shinobu, being able to be successful as an individual competitor is loving Karuta. That's how Shinobu views it. But Chihaya does not view it that way. For Chihaya, love and Karuta means getting as many people into it as possible and sharing in that experience together and sharing in that love of Karuta and the love of the game. Chihaya is like the ultimate team player and Shinobu is the ultimate lone wolf. Like they just view it from two very different facets. And neither of them are necessarily wrong. They just view it from two different circumstances, two different ways of looking at Karuta. I also think that it's kind of sad because to me, that's like Shinobu admitting that she's never really been a part of a team, so she doesn't know what that feels like. And Arata, he re-experiences by helping this team in this episode, he re-experiences what that feeling is like, and he remembers, why did I like playing as a team? Oh, yeah, this is why. With this group, this is why I enjoyed it. So... And so I like this where he kept asking why he keeps getting matched with her in the first round. Also, if you look, she has a little ice cream on her shirt. So her and Chihaya, since the beginning, been repping them brands. I fully believe that the grandfather pitted Arata up against her from the start, being like, go beat her again. Go on, go beat her. It's fine. I don't know if the grandfather was trying to matchmake with Shinobu and Arata, or if he was just really wanting Arata to face the strongest players that he could to get better, so he kept putting Arata up against her. We'll never know. After this encounter, though, I do not ship Arata and Shinobu. I was wondering if the show was going to try it to get us to ship them, or would encourage that, but I don't think so, because I think Arata, I don't get the vibes. Arata is very calm, cool, collected, and like a big waterfall of emotion when it comes to playing Karuta. He's like a big ocean, but he also is very like compassionate and caring, and I just don't feel the compatible vibes between him and Shinobu. Shinobu's an ice queen, and he's like a big ocean, and you would think two bodies of water, they would be similar, but they really aren't that compatible to me. So I'm like, nah, not the shipping vibes. I like shipping Shinobu and Chihaya because they're very opposite. They are like fire and ice. I love that. That's fun. And I like shipping Taichi and Arata because they are like fire and water. So it's fun. Chihaya and Arata are similar, though, in how compassionate and kind they are, right? There is a moral base there. Maybe that's why I like shipping them, too, because there's some like connection there, you know. So then we have the OP. We're going to get past the OP. Poor Tsutomu finds out some information about the one team Fujisaki. 5 of their members are Class A. That's why they're the reigning champions, you know. Don't you know? They are 5 of the 8 are Class A members, and they sent out all 5 in the first round. Now, we meet our lead in this, the top brass, who I thought was a woman. I thought was Annie. And interestingly enough, said, if you're going to spy on us, then write this down. In Fujisaki, the girls are scarier than the guys. Now, you could read this in 2 ways. I like Tsutomu's like, because I was kind of shipping Tsutomu with this individual. I'm still kind of shipping them, to be honest with y'all. But like, aren't you a guy? And they're like, the truly scariest of all are the beautiful, right? And then balances the matches on their eyelashes, which is terrifying. Makoto. So Makoto is one of the leaders of Fujisaki and is allegedly a guy. I don't know if they're in Japan. I know that there's like a character in Kuroko's Basketball who is gendered female, even though they are presented male. And so there is like I don't know if the Japanese language has like trans pronouns appropriately in text, so subtitling is weird. So I don't know if Makoto is trans and Makoto is talking about like the women, including themselves, being the scariest of all in their team, or if Makoto is doing a shout out to their lady teammates saying you should be worried about the girls. But then they say about being beautiful and they include themselves into it. So that makes me think that they're trans and they're part of the community, and the subtitles just don't have, the subtitles from 2013 don't have the appropriate pronoun reflection to show that to us. So I don't know. Comment down below if Makoto is supposed to be trans or if we're assuming that they are presenting as male and just talking about their female teammates. If there's a subtitle translation that the 2013 edition doesn't reflect, or if it's a spoiler tag it and I'll find out later. But yeah, that's a good sign, senpai. I've known this for a while, but the people who are the best at Karuta are a bunch of weirdos. True, Arata is the most stable out of all of them. Now, there's a few moments here. Whenever this show decides to leave Chihaya alone and let her do her thing, I will be grateful for it, because it gets, my only complaint about Chihayafuru is, and I don't know if it's a 2013 thing, but there are times when Chihaya's own teammates just try to put her in her place, and it frustrates me. Let our girl go. She's not hurting anything. Like when she's chugging the water, she's super excited. And Kana says, well, stop that. She says, a girl shouldn't gulp water standing up like that. And I'm like, I chugged water all the time. When did how we drink water be genderfied? Like, why is there a genderization of drinking water? Just like, let her be. Let her be, please. And Chihaya's like, I'm just trying to get riled up. I'm trying to fire myself up. Like, there's nothing wrong. So, okay. The other thing about this episode that frustrated me was Taichi. I know. Those of you that love Taichi, that think he can do no wrong, I'm sorry to tell you this, but he can do much wrong, and he does much wrong in this series. I love Taichi to pieces, but I'm going to hold him accountable. I am not going to look at Taichi through rose-colored glasses. I'm going to hold him accountable for his actions. If you want me to ship him with Chihaya, we have to address these things. And that doesn't even guarantee that I'm going to ship him with Chihaya, to be honest. So he's worried about Fujisaki, as he should be. They are the top team at this tournament. It's natural and understandable and valid for him to be concerned. And he's like, we're just not going to talk about it. So then we see Retro-kun, and Retro-kun's like, well, Hokuo's going to breeze through the group stages. I'm like, don't jinx yourself, Retro-kun. Don't jinx it. How's it looking for Mizuzawa, number 2 in Tokyo? He's like, try not to drop out too early. I love that. I love his little arm flailing. Here's my theory. Either one of two things are going to happen. I don't think Hokuo is going to advance past Mizuzawa at this tournament. I don't think that's going to happen. One of two things is going to happen. Either Mizuzawa is going to reach a stage where they face Hokuo again, and I think they're going to beat them this time because Pseudo won't be a reader, and that won't be an advantage. So I think that's going to happen. Or two, we're going to get to like the semifinals, and we're going to find out that Hokuo didn't make it. Hokuo lost to the team that Mizuzawa has to face. Now, is it going to be the team with the girl with the headband that they seem to be amping up in the OP that we're going to play? Or is it going to be Fujisaki? I wouldn't be surprised if Fujisaki faces Hokuo in the semifinals and beats them, and they go up against Chihaya's team either in the semifinals or the finals. I wouldn't be surprised because they're building that up. They're building that up for us, right? So then we have Morale showing up, and he calls out Arata's name, and Arata and him like get pushed back, and Chihaya's like, oh hey, I think I heard Arata, and of course Taichi is like, Arata being here, but he said he wasn't gonna be here, and so he's like, well, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, he could be here. And he's like, well, whether he's here or not, our second match is coming up. Now, this is the part where I got mad at Taichi. She's like, I just heard him. And I'm sorry, but I'm so sick and tired of Taichi yelling at her. I'm so tired of it. If someone was nagging at me like Taichi does, I would never date him. I'm sorry, I don't support that. He is so hypocritical in this scene. He's like, you need to focus and you need to do this. And then we cut to him. He is the least focused out of all of them. He's worried about Fujisaki. He's worried about Arata being there. Chihaya has to come back in the next scene and tell Taichi to get his shit together. And I'm like, you are so hypocritical. And the thing about it is, if Taichi had let go of his jealousy, let go of his pettiness, and just focused on, hey, oh my God, our teammate could be here. You're right, Chihaya. Maybe he is here. But if he would stop for 5 freaking seconds and just say, hey, Chihaya, yeah, he could be here. Let's focus on this match because that way we can do him proud and hopefully he'll come see us. That's all it freaking took. I just did that in 10 seconds. Look how easy that was. But Taichi is so consumed by his jealousy still and he's still being a hypocrite that he can't get his shit together, and it pissed me off. I'm like, no, not shipping you yet, because you can't get it together. It's just like, I'm like, when Chihaya has to get you back in the game, that says something. I'm so tired of people like giving Chihaya the shaft. Our girl is a angel baby, and she is like doing so good. Like, quit knocking her down. Anyway, enough of that. We mainly focus on Arata the rest of the episode. So Morale, he's like, you're on the tournament committee. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, there's other Nagamo Society members here. I woke up at 5 to get here. And he's like, but I don't mind because there were other people doing this when I was a student. So Morale talks about the concept of paying it back. He talks about the idea of paying it forward, giving back to the people that helped make it possible for him as a student to not have to worry about things. So he talks about kind of like sort of what Chihaya wants to do about giving back after they're done with, you know, Karuta. He's like, we keep a tradition going. And that's something too. I think that part of being in a team isn't just about like the fun times you have as a group or about that sense of camaraderie. It kind of establishes something. And as a coach, for a team that has like a legacy, I fully believe in that. It's something that is celebratory. It's something that we should support. It's really good. So yeah, I absolutely love it. So yeah, so we talk about this one team, Fujioka West. They're having a hard time. They fought hard in the group stages, but only have 3 registered members. And so then Morale gets called away and he says the team tournament means more in high school Karuta. But the individual tournament is where you'll witness true skill. And that's the thing. I feel like part of Shinobu's argument is she feels like the team tournaments are not as, they're not as prestigious because it's just high schoolers, and the individual tournaments are more, they're more about that individual skill. They're more about that experience, that prestige. Whereas the high school, I feel like Shinobu views them as just training grounds. And that's, sure, you could have that opinion, but I think that that doesn't diminish their importance, right? Because you have Harata back in the last season when we were watching the matches with Suo and with Shinobu. Harata was like, these are 2 really good players, but they have no interest in passing the torch to the next generation. So you're going to have all of this talent, all of this skill that both of them possess, and it really isn't going to get passed down or go anywhere. So it, you know, from Harata's perspective, it's kind of a waste. It's like, yeah, you're amazing at Karuta, but what are you giving back to the activity? What are you giving back to your team, to others in that society that can keep the activity going? Because if you just have a bunch of lone wolves, is there going to be a future in Karuta, or will it just die out? You know, because if you get 2 players together and they have another player, it's kind of like, it's a weird form of procreation where you have Karuta and then you get teammates, and those teammates pass on those skills to others, and then they pass them on to others, and it keeps it going. If everybody just branches off and does their own thing, but nobody passes the torch, eventually it'll go out. So, I mean, the question is, does Shinobu care about that? That's a good point. So we have Fujioka. Their one team member is stuck in traffic. They can't get there. It's like the teen drama storyline for the ages. And they ask Arata if he'll help. The thing that's crazy about this is that they're like, it's going to be an hour before they get there. So Masaki is the one with the fluffy hair. He's like, and Masaki went through LASIK surgery so that they could play, which is crazy. But I honestly never thought I would see Shoji again. Like, back when we saw in season 1, Shoji was the guy that Arata punched when he, like, said that slander against his grandpa. I never thought we'd see that guy again. Ever. Ever in a million years. So, it's kind of crazy that we got him back in this episode, and that it all kind of came full circle, and Arata's like, okay, I'll help you all. I feel like Arata kind of was strong-armed into helping, but the whole scenario is just like absurdity. But it's kind of like, it's high school absurdity. I feel like there had been an adult present at that moment. Like if Shoji and Masaki had an adult with them, like their coach who's stuck in traffic, if the coach had been there, the coach would have been like, no, we can't involve this guy. He can't help out. No. That'll get you all like disqualified. That won't work. But because these are like 18-year-olds, they're like, this will be fine. No one will notice. I was like, the moment that we saw Arata with the mask and he had the glasses on, I'm like, he's going to get noticed. It's going to happen. But also the cool thing is, just like, one cool thing about this episode is the concept of impressions that we have on people. Like Shinobu, Arata left such a huge impression on her, where she remembered him from all that time before. And she held on to that memory of him beating her. And that's been kind of like motivating her in some capacity all this time. Likewise, Shoji, who Arata kind of had a bad memory about, Shoji doesn't seem to like remember that whole punch to the face. He just remembers that Arata was really good at Karuta. And so he kind of like let all that go. And so it's fascinating in this series to see what people remember and what they don't remember, because that's very true to real life, you know? I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, Arata decides that he's going to join and play here. I thought for a second that Arata was going to get sick because look, I wear glasses or contacts all the time. I have to see. Since third grade, my eyesight has been garbage. So I know if I don't have my contacts in and I don't have my glasses on, it will give me a headache. So I cannot imagine Arata trying to play without the glasses on. And then I was like, is he going to get sick and not be able to play tomorrow? And he might still. They might decide. The episode ended with them saying, you may be barred from the tournament. I'm like, is he going to be barred? Is he? Now look, if Arata had came out guns a-blazing and the other two had won all their matches and then Fujioka like advanced to the next round, yeah, I think that would have been a big problem. Do I think there's a chance that the society may overlook it since Fujioka lost and it doesn't matter? They're like, let's just sweep this under the rug. Let's just say no. Maybe they'll ban Arata from participating next year in the team competitions, which might play out if him and Chihaya and Taichi talk about things and they're like, yeah, let's all play together. Let me join your high school. It may not work next year. Who knows? We're way too far from that to even be talked about. I talked about that briefly episodes ago, but we're too far from that. Or are they going to bar him from... This series likes to punish us. This series likes to punish our main three. So I would not be surprised if they're like, Arata, you can't play in the tournament tomorrow, and he's just there watching as a spectator. I would not be surprised. But if he does not get to play in the individual tournament, I hope that he at least runs into Chihaya and Taichi, and when Chihaya's like, why can't you play? He's like, because I helped out my old middle school team to play and I worked as a team. I think Chihaya would forgive him. Taichi would be like, what the fudge are you doing? Why did you do that? But I think Chihaya would forgive him. I think she'd be like, oh wow, you were helping people be able to play Karuta. I forgive you instantly. Like, that's probably how she would react to it, right? But God. Also, can we talk about the handicap of when they said they only had 3 players? I thought, how can they play in a tournament with only 3 people? And the answer is, you can, but it is extremely handicapped against you. So the other 2 that don't get to play from the opposing team automatically win their matches. So automatically, if one of you 3 lose a match, it's over. It's just the team automatically advances at that point. You just got to keep playing till the end. So that's terrifying. And of course, Shoji is the one who like bows out and gets defeated first. So, but to be fair, I don't think if Shoji hadn't been defeated, I don't think Arata would have revealed himself because that would have been a direct violation, you know? I think they could have made the argument that I think that if you want to make the argument that Arata didn't start really playing until after Shoji had lost, you maybe could swing it in the way that it's okay, but I don't know. This seems like since it's nationals, the rules are the rules and there's not a lot of room to bend them. And of course, they have like the storm clouds move in and the boat rally gets rained out. I felt for Shinobu. She didn't have an umbrella, girl. Like everybody had umbrellas there and she was all stuck out in the rain. What if she gets sick and she can't play the next day? What if it's like ultimate karma for both of them? This episode gave me anxiety. This episode really made me nervous. But yeah, Shoji talks about how they've worked really hard the past 18 months to make it to nationals. They just want to at least play 1 match. I did like the callback to the one episode that Arata played when he was, in elementary school and his glasses were taken by Taichi, and he thinks back to that. Speaking of which, we cut to Taichi, who is not in his head. I'm like, I love Taichi as much as everybody else in this series does. I really do. I see a lot of myself in Taichi. But I'm like, Chihaya is focused. Like, girl has been on her game. I wish Taichi would recognize that because I feel like he's treating her the same way he treated her in season 1 and isn't recognizing as much as he needs to. Like, he does occasionally, but I want him to recognize how much she's grown and that girl does not need you over her shoulder every 5 minutes telling her to focus. She's got this. You need to focus on yourself, Taichi, because you are not in the game. Your head is not in the game and you need to get to it. And then Chihaya's like, she's like, look, we need to stay focused. I want to show off my team and how strong we are. And Taichi being surprised, I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. That's where you messed up. That's where you done goofed, because you weren't thinking about how much of a strong person she is. Instead, you were worrying that she was being weak when you're the one that's weak, my dude. And yeah, what she says in this moment should have been what he said back there. But because our mangaka likes to throw Taichi under the bus, and because Taichi has so much yet to learn, he gets schooled by her. Well, good. I'm glad she schooled him. And I like Scuba's like, I don't get it, but I like being shown off. She's like, watch us, Arata. Meanwhile, they're like, not possible. He's over in the other room, struggling. So yeah, and I feel like Arata, he does like feel bad for his opponent, because his opponent wants to face like a tough competitor at nationals, and Arata's like, I wish I could do that, but I'm not supposed to like reveal who I am, and the moment I start playing really good, it's gonna reveal it. But he's like, where did I not have my glasses before? And it was back when Taichi stole them. And then poor Chihaya, I could do without seeing Chihaya cry ever again like that. Where she's like, I just wanted to keep playing with you too. But yeah, and so I love how in this moment, Arata kind of realizes the dichotomy here. That you have Shinobu saying people who don't love Karuta play in team tournaments. But Arata realizes, well, maybe that's true for you, Shinobu, but I'm seeing here people who love the game playing together and loving it just as much as I think you love it by yourself. So it really is an apples and oranges scenario, and you can't say one is more true than the other, you know? And I think he thinks back to Moreau as well in that moment. But damn it, this guy recognizing him. I get that the guy is like really conflicted because he wants to play by the rules, and that means he probably needs to disqualify Arata. But I'm like, I don't want Arata to not be able to play in the individual tournament. But I feel like this mangaka is going to punish us because she loves doing that and won't let him play in the tournament. I feel like that's what it's going to do, and I'm going to be really sad about it. But yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna, I want to treat my opponent fairly. And he's like, I want also Masaki gets really inspired as well. I want to tell my teammate, he's like, I want to treat my opponent properly. I want to respect my opponent. And I want to tell my teammate it's not over. The real important thing though in this is like, he's like, I didn't want to, be with this team, but they're not my team. And I'm like, he's like, my team is Chihaya and Taichi. And I'm like, yes. Here's my thing. I know that Arata is with the other society. I know he's getting help from Moreau. I know all of that, but I kind of want Arata to join the same high school as Taichi and Chihaya so they can all play together. But Taichi would spontaneously combust if that happened. So I don't know if that's ever going to happen or how that works, but at least Shoji recognizes that Arata wants to become a master. And there we go. So yeah, 3-2. So yep, so Arata and Masaki won both of their games. But Shoji did not, and then, yeah, that's when he gets recognized. Oof. What are you doing, Arata? I get why it's against the rules, and I get why he wants to disqualify him. He's like, I can't let it slide. They're going to receive a severe reprimand, and you may be barred from playing tomorrow. Oh. The thing is, if he told Morale, would Morale be like, Morale would probably karate chop him in the head and be like, Baka. But this series is going to make me so anxiety ridden waiting for what's going to happen. I hate it. We have no preview, so it's so bad. This episode was just absolutely anxiety inducing, and I hate that I have to wait to find out if Arata's going to play or not. If anything, though, I think if he doesn't get to play tomorrow, I think he should tell Chihaya and Taichi what happened, but whether he's too embarrassed to tell them or not, I don't want a miscommunication, and I don't want unnecessary angst. I don't want unnecessary angst, and I think we're about to get unnecessary angst, but I guess we're gonna have to deal with it, so I'm sorry. I was all over the place with this discussion because there were parts of this episode that just made me like want to shake Taichi, and then they're part of this episode that made me want to shake Arata, being like, I know what you're trying to do, but you're going to get yourself disqualified. And I'm like, this is one of those episodes that I'm like, so maybe you feel the same way. But this discussion's not going to be as long as usual, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to wait for episode 10. I probably will wait just enough to at least see Furanoda's translation for episode 7. But other than that, I may have to dive right in. I may have to do it. So in any case, I hope you all enjoyed this reaction discussion, as chaotic as it was. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Chihayafuru.